WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. It has been said that I enjoy a frosty adult beverage. I have pitched beer, drank beer, ran beer buses. I've had beer on, I don't know, probably 5 continents if I had to count them all, and have enjoyed beer on all 5 continents. But the one thing that's gone on here in recent times, and I guess I go back to the days of being down on Cross Street when Hugh Sisson was brewing up beer, and he was the only guy I knew that brewed beer back when I was a younger man. And then the Red Brick Brewing Company appeared in my neighborhood of White Marsh, and my son went to Perry Hall, and all this beer. I can say, and I'm embarrassed about this, that I have not talked enough about beer in recent years since I lost my Bud, Miller, and Coors sponsorships when all I did was talk about beer. And I've been known to have an occasional local beverage around here from Duclaw, amongst other places, but when this thing gets done and I get unleashed and I can go out from every brewery, whether it's Guinness or Union or wherever, but I'm going to start in one place because everybody has told me I'm from Dundalk. I need to start at Key Brewing where balance is the craft. And I am delighted that Peter DeLutis has used his pull in getting Mike McDonald on from Key Brewing. You know, Mike, I'm embarrassed in a lot of ways, and I've said to my wife, and I've said this out loud, when this pandemic began, we were up in New York a couple of weeks before, life stopped, and I did not get to go to my favorite bakery because I woke up on that morning and I said to my wife, we got to go up to the Two Little Red Hens Bakery up on the Upper East Side and get my muffins, and I want to get one of those coconut pies that I love so much. My wife's like, that's a long way to go. It's cold out. Do you really want to get on a subway to do that? And I'm like, yeah, and she's like, nah, next time. And then we didn't go see the Eagles, and we didn't go see Hall & Oates. And I said, well, we got Pearl Jam, we got the Stones. And, the brewing companies, I keep saying to Pete, we'll get around to all of them. One day I'll come and tell their story, and we'll bring the camera, and I'll get hammered, and we'll take an Uber home. And then this happens. And now I'm like, all right, I'm putting together the local bucket list of all the things I'm going to do. And I'm telling you, man, you are top 3, top 4 right after I high-five and hug my kid when I get to Dundalk. So I am apologetic, but I need a virtual tour of all the awesomeness I'm missing out on, man.
Well, it is unfortunate that this virus has shut everybody down. So, it's we miss having people come into the tap room.
Well, and I over the year and a half, 2 years that, I've known about you, and I don't know exactly how long you've even been there, but I see people all the time saying where they are, checking in. I know where you are. It's a little around the corner from where I usually go. I used to be in Dundalk every day of my life because my mom was 98 years old and lived there, right? So, especially toward the end of her life, so I was always in Dundalk. Now I'm not there as much, but that's no excuse. I mean, I'm throwing myself on the mercy of the IPA and, all the brewing gods that I got to get over to check out some of your high-quality American craft ales and lagers. I'm more of a lager guy than an ale. Does everybody have a favorite, or are there really non-denominational people in the world today?
Well, I think everybody has a favorite. I too am a lager guy, and it was German lagers that made me want to become a brewer many years ago. I personally don't care for IPAs. I can appreciate them, but it is not the type of beer that I reach for. And I think you do have people that will drink anything across the board, and they enjoy them. But I think for the most part, people really do have one style of beer that really connects them.
I'm stouty. I've learned that as an adult. I mean, I remember the first time someone handed me a brown beer. It was a Beck's. I was probably 16 or 17. Don't say that out loud. I was camping out for concert tickets with a bunch of kids from Northwest Baltimore, my dear friend Richard Abrahams, KF Peck, my buddies, and they had like German beer and Kolsch and different stuff. I mean, I was from Dundalk, man. We had natural light. You know what I mean? Like, we had the Winter Distributing Company, and if one of my pals found the shed to be a little open, we'd wind up with whatever worked. You know what I mean? And my mom was a Pabst and a Natty Boh drinker. My mom was a Hairnet Honey. Drank beer my mom was the most famous Dundalk beer drinker there's ever been. And I would implore you to ask her. Other than Wild Bill Hagee, my mom is the most famous Dundalk beer drinker there's ever been. My mom drank a beer every day of her life till she died 2.5 years ago. She's 98 years old. So, but my mom was, very, even at the end, she liked like a Busch Light, a Natty Boh. That was more her style, and but at some point I discovered stouts, and I know you have a hell of a background in brewing, so I mean I want to go a little backwards with you and have you tell your story because I'm from Dundalk. Beer was part of the culture of my family to some degree, to the ills of some people in my family for sure. And I kid around about it. And obviously, we want everybody to be practicing safely in every way. And a lot of people are turning in the wrong way. But we're talking about an appreciation of a craft of beer. I'll be 52 this year. And, I've binge drank. And thankfully, drinking and driving was never something I did because the Anheuser-Busch Corporation and Miller and Coors and my friend the Footlicks and the Pinkners and the Bond family and I've been on the radio 30 years. Drinking and driving would have been a very, very bad thing for me. So I have a taste for beer, but not over the top. But as I've gotten older, man, my palate's changed. And when I walk into King Discount Liquors now, and I literally am overwhelmed by the possibility of every kind of fruit in my beer I could possibly want, right? That there are people like you out there doing this at an incredibly high level and locally that could really make this a lot of fun as a 52-year-old guy to come in and check out tap rooms as I've been doing more of the last 5 or 10 years because your kind of place was a place, we didn't have them in Dundalk 20 years ago, did we?
No, in fact, I don't think Dundalk ever had a brewery before. All the beer was essentially coming out of Baltimore City. If you go back on the history of it,
Brewers Hill,
I'm
right?
Not schooled on the history, but Baltimore at one point had over 100 breweries operating at one time. So it was the German immigrants that came in and really made it a beer town.
Thank God for that, huh? All right, I love that.
I can't agree with you more on that.
I got to get the beer snob guy on, the guy that does the drunk, the drunk moving around, whatever. I know he's got the little Baltimore roots. I got to get him on and talk about this because, as you travel the world, and I've traveled, my wife and I were in Japan. We were in South Korea. South Korea loves beer. They like a lighter beer, like a Height or whatever. But the different styles, the man who saved my wife's life twice is from Essen, Germany, in Dortmund, Germany. And when we went to meet him, we spent a really special night together in Köln, as they'd say. And they bring the Kolsch, in the little glasses. And I love that. I mean, ice cold, I love it. It was a hot night there. And literally last weekend, we were supposed to be doing that with him and his bride in Germany. And it was a big centerpiece of what we were going to do was drink Kolsch and Cologne. And we didn't get an opportunity to do that. And all these things are lost. We want to do these things. But your beer and your background in brewing all this, you said it started in Germany. So, and the beer here started in Germany. So give me, how does a dude like Mike become like a University of Rhode Island guy, start brewing beer in my homeland of Dundalk, right?
I'll try to keep the story somewhat brief.
No, I don't want brief, man. This is a podcast. Come on, man.
Well, I went to Germany with my parents in probably 88, 89. And
by the wall at that point, right? Like right around then, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the wall it had just come down. We were in a town called Mittenwald, which is somewhat in between Munich and Innsbruck, Austria.
Wow, you sat southeast part, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, beautiful, not far from Brenner Pass to go into Italy. The Alps are there. It was just a fantastic place. And the first night, my father and I walked to one of the local beer gardens, and we're sitting outside. And
how old are you at this time? How old are you in '88?
I was 19.
Okay. So I didn't know if you, okay. So you were of the age where you'd be interested in this, and you and your dad. This is a fun thing, right?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I'm of primarily Irish heritage, so alcohol was always part of the house, and go sailing with my dad. We were allowed to have crack the beer open for him, take a couple of sips, and then give him the beer over. So at 19, my parents weren't under the impression that I was waiting to be 21. And you only have to be 16 to have a beer.
Well, I already admitted to you that I had my first dark beer. I think I may have spit it out. When I was 17, 18, 19. I distinctly remember getting a little Natty Boh off the, when you're 8 years old at Christmas, giving you a Dixie cup of it, and you're like, tastes like mouthwash. You didn't even want it when you were a kid, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I had a dark beer until I was definitely older. So definitely, it's a unique flavor.
Well, I think I have a more refined palate now, Mike, as we all do, right?
Well, that or it's worn out. Who knows?
All right, take me back, man. So we're in Germany. You're 19. You're with your pop, and you're looking for a beer, like legit beer. Like you're in the home of beer. Beer, B-I-E-R, beer, right?
Well, this is my first time going to Germany, and we just ordered 2 beers, Weissbier, and they just served us their house Helles, from the Mittenwalder Brewery. And I took that first sip, and it was like nothing I had ever had before. Growing up drinking, Budweiser nips by the railroad tracks or out on the lake with friends. And, the American beer was it was insipid, to be honest. So when I first had that real German beer that had these flavors that I had never had before, it blew my mind.
Hops, malts, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And it was not long after that trip that I was back home, and I was actually skiing with some friends in Vermont, and we were having a beer. And I was like, it's 4 ingredients. How hard can it be to make a beer? And I took a book out of the library on how to brew, tracked down some ingredients, and made my first beer. Well, and I was hooked, immediately hooked.
I'll say this, man. I'll be 52 this year, and when I was 22, so I'm thinking back in like 92, 93, 94, in that range, and when Oriole Park came online, there were a lot of people I met that I would not have met other than being at a ball game, right? It's quite a melting pot of 50,000 different people every night. I'm on the radio. I'm young. I at that point, I'm probably a Coors Light drinker, just drinking on the weekends with my friends, chasing girls at the beach, the way we did, senior week kind of drinking, And I had friends from D.C. that had traveled a little bit, and there were like bars where like you could go to D.C. and they would have like 100 beers, like 100.
You're talking the brick scale.
Yeah, the brick scale. Yeah, absolutely. So 100 bottles of beer on the wall, 100 bottles of beer. So you're thinking all that, and you're like, what the hell would I want an Italian beer or German? In the neighborhood, over King Discount Liquors, budget liquors when I was a kid, wherever, Al Seafood, places you go in, there'd be the Coors Light, the Miller Lite, the Bud Light, and then a couple of Heineken and a couple of, things. And then there'd be some fruity stuff and some Bartles and James and some California Coolers or whatnot. And I could never imagine, the interest in it. And then, when it started to come online, when I lived in White Marsh and Bill was brewing, and obviously we were chasing girls down at Turner's on Cross Street in the 90s, and Hugh Sisson's brewing up something in the back and making some wings and whatnot. I never thought of it as an industry. I never sort of wondered why the only brewery I could ever go to was the one in St. Louis with my parents in 1983. One of my parents' picture. We went to St. Louis to see baseball, wrestling in the summer of 1983, and my parents and I went on the Anheuser-Busch tour with the Clydesdales, and my mom loved beer. So I have these pictures of my parents in front of the Clydesdales wearing 1980s polyester. So, beer's always been a part of my life as well, and But to think that beer would become what it is, right? That there would be this Key Brewing company in Dundalk, and there'd be breweries in other places, and Guinness would, move their headquarters the other side to brew this other thing. And I've been to the Guinness brewery in Dublin, and I'm like I said, I'm a little stouty, but I don't even know. Maybe I had a black and tan somewhere because it looked sexy in the glass and decided that the dark stuff tasted good. Give me a whole one of those. I don't even know when that came to me. Maybe St. Patrick's Day marketing or whatever. But where the world is moved now, I never could have guessed that Matt Crow would have been so right, that you and Bill and everybody else that ever brewed, that people wouldn't want that thing that they saw Rodney Dangerfield or John Madden, or Billy Martin drinking, that it would become so cool and so interesting. And more than that, so I think interesting that every place it's different. And I have beer snobs in my life now, no offense, Mike, that love to take me places and have things I've never had. And as a 52-year-old guy, varieties like I never want to eat the same ice cream twice. I mean, that's part of watching Guy Fieri. We're all trying to figure out a meal we've never had. And I think beer has become something that that I can't wait to get to your place and say, give me a little of that, because I don't like IPAs either, but maybe you're going to be the first guy to put an IPA in that's not going to taste bitter to me, right?
Well, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like IPAs. I prefer a balance in a beer, and IPA, you can make a balanced IPA that's a solid beer that I would have more than one of. But that's just not my thing. Everybody's got a different taste. Some people like these sour beers. That's another one that it blows my mind. And I think a lot of breweries out there right now that are making these fruited sours because it's cool to make and people want to drink it. I don't think those people even like beer. I think they want a fruit juice, or they want that Bartles and James wine cooler from the 80s, or Zima.
But saying all of that, there's become a market for literally everything, right? Like, I remember when vodka wasn't cool and whiskey was, and now the ryes are cool. And if you're in a barbecue place, you'll want if you're ordering a steak, you're going to want a Malbec or a Cab, or if you're having a burger, you're going to. I want me a lager. My wife and I make a burger and fries even during the pandemic. We are drinking, and I love Moosehead, and I discovered Moosehead when I like beers along that line of a lager. And when I see a Dundalk Calling, I see a double IPA, and I honestly have seen it in coolers, in places. It's been offered to me. I've held it up for a picture. I think at one point I can send it over to you because I'm such a Dundalk guy. But I don't know that
There's a lot of pride in Dundalk.
Hey, man, but I don't know that I love double IPAs. I've never had a double IPA I've liked, but I've never really had a stout that I hated. You know what I mean? Or a lager that I hated, other than when you put too much fruit in it one way or another, right? But I think everybody's palate's different. But to your point, you're a brewer there and making these things for the public's taste. I know Dundalk Calling's really, really popular because I see it everywhere, man. I know people love IPAs.
It's one of our best-selling brands. Between the Dundalk Calling and the Speed Wobbles, those two beers move far better than our traditional Helles Lager or the Chesapeake Common. But there are people that want the traditional lager.
By the way, I've had your Helles, by the way, so I am not out on that, because one of my best friends as a kid, his nickname was, are you ready? Hells. And guess what he liked to do? Drink beer. He's now a food snob ordering Pizza John's in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he would sell his soul for a six-pack of Helles, which we pronounced Hells. So there, have at it.
There you go.
There's my Dundalk. He's a Dundalk guy, too, so, But I did enjoy that, and I think I drank 2 or 3 when it was in the cooler at the party I was in South Baltimore last summer, as a fact. I took pictures with it. So, go ahead.
We try to brew a beer for everybody, whether I like it or not. That doesn't matter. We're trying to make a product that will accommodate everybody's taste. That's why we have the Dundalk Call, and we have the cold rolled coffee stout, the Speed Wobbles, which is the light or a session IPA, we like to call it. And then we have Bail Money, which is the West Coast IPA, which is old school now to people. The Positive Mental Attitude, Dry Hop Pills, as I mentioned, the Chesapeake Common, the traditional Hellas, the All Days Off Mexican style lager.
I don't know how you got my picture on that can, but you did a nice job. I can't believe you put a soccer ball. You probably should have put baseball on that if you were going to put me on the cover. Is that inspired by someone? Is that someone you know or no?
That you know what? I honestly don't know. We have a guy that does the artwork for us, and he came up with that, and it led into our customers trying to imitate that picture. So we have a ton of pictures of people in that same pose drinking one of those All Days Off.
Well, you send some of that coffee stout over. I'll pose anywhere you want. How about that?
We can handle that.
You know, for you with the pandemic and your business, you talk about all these brands, and I don't know enough about your business. You know, I mean, as I remember, right around 2014-15, I was doing some stuff, and Duclaw was putting some stuff out around that time, and Bill Blocker was always trying to, bring me, I got something new to try this, and I know you had a long background of brewing a lot of beer that I drank in White Marsh, as I lived in White Marsh for the better part of a decade at the turn of the century before I moved downtown, and, trying all these things and knowing what they are, but seasonal is the genesis, I think, of all of your businesses, wherever brews are made and pubs are and all of that, that you make something, run out of it, look forward to it. I would say to my wife, it's the eggnog theory. It comes for a while and you better pick it up. If you want eggnog in March, you better buy it in December and freeze it.
Yeah, seasonal is for a business like Bill at Red Brick Station, having the brew pub, the seasonal factor was very strong, and you had those core beers, and then you rotated those seasonals. We do the same thing down here at Key. However, our season is different. We've got to be a month ahead on every season and putting the beers out. And people's tastes do change at different times of the year. So that's the tricky part of getting this, getting the seasonality with a business like Key, because we only have a small tap room. It's a very small part of our business. We're trying to get that beer out to consumers at the big liquor stores and at the restaurants and bars when and if they ever open again. So that is definitely a challenge. It was a little bit easier to do in a situation like Red Brick Station.
Well, I really appreciate you taking some time and letting me get to know you and what you guys are doing. I see your beers. I've consumed your beers. I've taken fun pictures with your beers, but I have not been down, and I'm really trying to figure this out. Dude, I'm not flying to Cologne, right? I mean, we're not seeing my wife's a twin brother over in Germany and meeting his wife other than on Zoom or FaceTime anytime soon. And I think when this thing subsides, we're all going to be looking for local things and local people to support. It's going to be all we have, and maybe it's all we've ever had, really, to some degree, is our neighborhoods and shopping local. I'm a small business owner to feature other small business owners, even after many, many years of serving the folks from Anheuser-Busch and the Miller Lights and the Coors Lights, who've all been sold off to the gypsies from what I can see, that the local people here and local beers and local flavors and local brands and fun things like putting Dundalk on a beer can and selling it to people that are proud of Dundalk, because I'm one of those people, right? And putting Baltimore on something and making traditional things. Is there something about Baltimore, and I guess everybody's trying to put some Chesapeake Bay seasoning in a beer because beer and crabs go so well together. To me, I'm a little bit like, and I like me a lime in a beer, you know what I mean? Sort of as we come up on Cinco de Mayo to talk about that, I'm good with all that. I don't necessarily want a lot of fruit in my beer or any other kind of fruit in my beer, but there's a part of me where like having what you would deem the traditional with just a freaking crab from Costas. You know what I mean? Like a beer and a crab. I don't need the crab in the beer in the crab. You know what I'm saying? And
I know exactly what you're saying. I agree with you 100% on that.
yeah, so I mean, I think you can get a little Gucci into this. And I mean, you're a freaking Dundalk Beer Company. I'm sure that you wobble the line on how much of that you're going to do, being who the audience is going to be and who's going to want what. But is there a Baltimore thing that we don't know about? Is there going to be a Kolsch, a thing that comes out, a style that's going to be made here in Baltimore that we're going to be known for, that's going to be purple or something? I'm making that. I don't know. I mean, but on a brand level, I've seen a lot of people. I mean, my friends at Royal Farms are partnering, with everybody's got a brand. I mean, football players used to do Wheaties boxes. They're going to, maybe you put my face on a beer because I like stouts and I like along the coffee side of things, but not too sweet. I don't want it to be a Snickers bar. But doing branding and putting things together, is there something that's going to be Baltimore 20 years from now we'll look and say there's a style that's a Baltimore brewing thing? Because I'm sure all of you are trying different stuff, right?
I don't know if it's even possible any longer.
Wow.
Beer is certainly not new. And the Helles Lager, our Helles Lager, is essentially modeled after a Munich style Helles. That Munich style's been, for thousands of years they've been making that beer. So I don't know if it's possible for something new and unique to denote any area for that matter. Whether it's San Francisco or, Seattle or Denver. I don't know if that's possible.
Well, that's interesting that you'd say that, but I think everybody's trying to do something I've never tasted before, right? Like to some degree, there's a little bit of a game in that, or to say this is the best double IPA I've ever had, right? I mean,
I think that the second part of that is really what it is, and of course, every brewery wants to have a mark that they're known for. Very few have that chance to have that Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, but that was from the 80s. That was a trendsetter. So
yeah, Zima thought it was going to stick around too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, I want to make the best product regardless of if it's a signature product. I just want every beer that we make to have the highest standards and for people to appreciate the effort that goes into making those beers. Our crew here, from our head brewer, Victor, to our packaging guy, Tim, they put time and effort and care into everything that we do. And, sometimes it doesn't work out. Then that beer doesn't get packaged. That beer gets dumped. You have to have high standards. And I'd like to believe that all the breweries around here handle their day-to-day the same way.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate you being Dundalk and homegrown. We've talked about local, nothing more local than you guys. Mike McDonald's the head brewer over at Key Brewing. You can find them, Spike, all those guys doing what they do, and you can find them. Phone number, give everything that people need to know, because I'm on 5 different websites here finding you guys. I know where I find you in King Discount Liquors, anywhere good local beers are sold, and I know you guys distribute locally. Pandemic-wise and getting beer-wise, and we've talked about what's essential and what's not. Mike, I learned the WWE is essential this week, right? So, I mean, and we can kid around about beer being essential one way or another. Lord knows I've been taking it in, but I do hope that people are out making decisions here and they're buying things that they are thinking about local places. And I know maybe distribution's been a little bit of an issue. I know safety and all that. Everybody's concerned about that. But anything in the last month or two that is keeping you guys from brewing the things you want to brew and doing the things you want to do to at least get beer to their homes if they can't come down and have a beer with you in Dundalk?
Well, we have slowed down our new product rollouts, but our partners in distribution are still working with us. We just loaded a truck to send out to one of our main wholesalers today, and that beer was packaged within the last week, and it's going to be at your local liquor store, by the week's end. Unfortunately, you can't come into the tap room and have a beautiful draft beer, which is one of my favorite things to do. When this pandemic hit us, my son and I jumped in the car and went to Western North Carolina to a cabin that the family has so we could just go fishing and hiking. And as soon as I came back from that trip, the first thing I wanted to do was have a draft beer. And unfortunately, that's, most people can't do that right now. It's one of the simple pleasures having, for me, a draft beer. So hopefully that's going to change pretty soon once this virus is gone from our site.
Well, I know you're going to make sure that it's chilled at the proper temperature, for all consumption. And hopefully later on in the spring we'll be able to get back down into Dundalk right by the Sparrows Point Country Club, right around the corner from our friends at Costas as well. No excuse for me, okay? So I've been lashed by all my Dundalk friends. How long's the tap room been open?
The tap room's been open for 3 years.
3 years.
We started production in September of 2015, and we did not open the tap room for the first couple of years because we were really just focusing on our core business plan, which is out to wholesalers and into the retailers. And then once we felt comfortable with how we were doing, that's when we finally decided to go ahead and open the tap room.
Well, I am no stranger to the Bear Creek. I actually ice skated on the Bear Creek back in the 70s. That's a true story. So I know my way around that area, and I have no excuse. So the excuse now is you're not open, but there'll be no more excuse once you guys get open down at 2500 Grays Road.
Well, you can pre-order and do curbside pickup, so we're technically open.
Oh.
You can't use the tap room to hang out right now, but once this is over, that tap room's going to open up again. People start playing shuffleboard. We've got pool table. We've got ping pong down here, and it's kind of like a little speakeasy. Even if you're from Dundalk, you might have a hard time finding it because Grays Road isn't a major artery, and we're a mile down the end of Grays Road. Most people think that they're heading in the wrong direction for their first visit here.
Well, hold on here now. I'm on the website here. I could order some RoFo cold rolled 6-pack, right? I could do that right now. That's a fact. I could do that. Online, $10.99, and when I'm dropping off the thing I need to drop off on my kid's porch in Dundalk, and I pick up some crabs at Costas to come back, I could come back with fresh beer? Seriously? I could do this?
Absolutely.
I'm going to do that. I have some essential shopping I need to do this weekend. Are you open on Saturday or no?
We are open Saturday. We open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for curbside pickup. You can go right online to our website, place your order right there, and we'll have it ready for you. You don't even have to get out of your car. We'll run it right out to you.
Well, man, I got my coffee cup from RoFo right here on the set. I mean, Frank Schilling and Ed Stronsky, my friends at Royal Farms, been our partners here. So putting together some stout, some coffee, some of my favorite things. Low alcohol, I like that. I appreciate that. And, it gets me to bed on time and feeling good in the morning and all that stuff. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. You can shop online, put your order in. You can pick it up curbside. I'm glad you pointed that out. Mike, I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to getting within 6 feet of you, give you a fist bump, and at least our mugs could touch on a spring or hopefully summer day sometime down at Key Brewing. Thanks for coming on and educating us about all things local and breweries and craft and the mutual love of German beer and German people. How about that?
Well, thank you, Nestor. I had a good time talking to you, and I look forward to having one of these Royal Farm coffee stouts with you sometime.
One will lead to two. Trust me, my friend. Mike McDonald joins us here. He is the lead dog and one of the head brewer, they call him, over at the Key Brewing Company, established in 2014. The tap room open but closed right now, but you can grab. It says right here I can pick up a 315 if I wanted to. I can pick up the bail money. That's IPA. It's probably not going to be my jam, but I can pick up the Hellas and ship it to Hells. Let's see, what else can I get here? I'm just going to get the stout, man. I'm just going to get the stout, get some lager, put that away, pick up some crabs. If I go to Costas, I'm going to get some crab soup too. Cream of crab soup. I'm going to get some cream of crab soup. I wonder if he's doing those special potatoes he does, the Greek potatoes. I love those things, like lemony. Get some of that too. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Icy Delights is open in Dundalk. Anybody sees Bill Gay, tell him I said hello. I don't know. There might be a whole tour. Maybe Pizza John's. I'll pick up some crab cakes down at Al's on the way out. Drop some stuff off to my kid. Essential business. We got to make once a week. I'm going to make a turn in my gloves and my mask. Maybe this is the week to do it. I haven't been to Dundalk in a month or more. I haven't seen my kid in 5 weeks. He doesn't FaceTime me anymore. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. We're keeping calm. We're staying local. Talking about beer, and it's making me thirsty. We never stop talking Baltimore positive.